Guess what? Update. Oh, I think I hear myself more than once right now. All right, well, yeah, I swear I can hear myself more than once. Why can I hear myself more than once right now? What's going on? Living on a jet plane. You'll never know when I'm coming back again. Oh, that's cause no, that's not that. I wish I could do that. That'd be great. I don't know why it doesn't let me. Um, Coming home again. You'll never find me here. Yeah, I know I sound good, but I'm suspicious of why in my headset I hear more than one. That's the question. That is the secret question. How could it be so? Is it loud enough? How high do you have me at, babe? It's loud enough. Okay. You're like, it's too loud. I can put you down on the lowest setting and still hear you. Man. All right. Let's see. All right, right there. Let's put it right there. I don't know why. I don't know why it sounds like I'm hearing myself twice through my headset. Or is it just some weird? Oh, sorry. I'm messing with the settings. Gotta be screaming in your ear soon enough. Compression is normal. Remember, guys, to smile. So I'm waiting for COD to download this update. So it's a bit of an update, and another updating again for the 100th time. I mean, I get it, they're new, so why not? But it hurts my ears how much they update. You know, they be updating all the time, all the time. It's a freaking crazy world. Oh my goodness. Da, 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 da. Where do you find a place upon the stars? Not mix TV with that. Oh. Center rear only. I don't care. Give me something good. Hit me with the beat. 1, 2, 3. No freaks here in the house tonight. Uh, well, while we're waiting, let's listen to this music. I'm down to do something really geeky here. You guys don't judge me, all right? Not about that judge life. They're calling me out for stuff. What the heck just happened? That was weird. OBS is being weird. Everything's weird. I just had to update on my computer too. I mean, everything's just weird. Let's say that. Ah, what? Oh, I dropped it in that box. Oh, okay. Guess that's fair. Yes, leave and reload this page. It's all it does is freaking reload. Ah, there we go, guys. It just took some magic. Let's see. Magic fingers. And that's more than one reference, if anybody can actually get it. Oh no. What have I done? Trying to get some music going, guys. Give me 1 second. And I'm trying to get the widgets going too. And we'll have everything ready. Everything will be great and grand and splendid. You know? It's just the way we want it, right? Splendor. In all your splendorness will you bow down to me. Media request, okay. Man, I tell you, OBS is being weird. How's my color, by the way? It looks so freaking orange to me right now. It's driving me nuts. I don't like it. I don't. I look so orange right now. I've been trying to fix it. I've been trying to fix it because it looked too foggy. I guess you can put it that way. That was bothering me. Yeah, see, I don't like that. I've been messing around with things, guys. I'm sorry. It's not the stream you want. This is the stream you're gonna get. This is the stream I don't want. It's like the light in my room keeps changing somehow. Not that you guys can see that anymore, but well. I don't know what's going on. Weirding me out right now. Okay, I look less orange. We'll just leave it at that. I just don't understand why my only coming out to a certain. What does this do? Gosh, guys, I can't figure this out, man. Oh, my bad. So, just hold on, bear with me. I promise we'll get somewhere eventually. Like my OBS is just freaking out. That's what's going on right now. OBS is just freaking out. All the stuff on my computer is freaking out. It just I don't want to run. I was gonna play Link's Awakening and that didn't want to work, and I've been sitting here messing with stuff all night. Even my media request doesn't want to work right now. Hey, Chihuahua. It's like I broke something, you know? Just don't understand. Why? Alright, we're going old school, guys. We're just gonna open my browser and we're just gonna go straight into YouTube. We got not much left of COD will download. Got gigabyte left. A little over a gigabyte. And my internet is slow. That says it's downloading at like 4 minutes per second. Oh no. We're just running into a lot of issues. Shut the door. Shut the damn door. It's Sam. You keep repeating it. It's not gonna work. Is that better? I slam the door. All right. Never gonna make it through this night. Tuesdays apparently is not the day I should be streaming, which is weird. Okay, so we were doing this. Got about a minute left. What is going on? It's my internet just slow tonight. Better because it's helping balance the darker colors. Sure. I would agree with you. At the same time, it's not what I'm worried about at the moment. Because I'm dying inside internally because nothing seems to be going the right way tonight. It's like this weekend was the perfect time to stream because everything was fine, and then this tonight is like, nah, it's not your turn to stream. Also, plug in your lamp. You think that would help set things off? I think it would actually make it worse since I've been setting up my camera without this on, so. Disco Inferno. Burn, baby, burn. It was light from a different direction. I know it does. It might. Let's see. I turned it on. This is my OBS looking like. See, I don't know. I also have it a little bit sharpened, so if I unsharpen it a little bit, it might bring some of this down. I have my beard really dark at the moment. It looks like. So. Oh. You think it looks better? Okay. We will go off a girlfriend's perspective. Vice. I don't know. You guys can just shoot me in the leg, it's fine. I won't complain. So I won't complain one bit. You just shoot me right in the leg. Give me all the leg shots. Take them all. What just popped up? Oh, I know. Disco Inferno, burn, baby, burn. When viewers tell Twitch streamers how to grow. I wish I knew how to grow. Let's see. Is this song worth listening to? I mean, it looks like Fire Force, but I'm not sure. Ooh, Markiplier says YouTube has a huge problem. I don't know. Is that too loud?
Dinosaur in here.
What's up?
Damn dinosaur for the dog. Are we supposed to be seeing something other than a black screen?
No.
Okay.
Because I was waiting for this to download.
Gotcha.
But you're not there to tell me how loud this sounds.
Okay. Second. Dinosaur. Look, here it is.
Thanks, bud. Installing everything. Why do you have to install everything? Why? Should be ducking every time I speak. Okay, it is, but it's just so loud that it doesn't want to matter, dude. Here we go. A little lower? Yeah, it's a little loud. Let me know. Let me know if that helped out. Still a little lower. I don't know. How about that? I think it's still too loud. Just turn it on YouTube. Here we go. I switched to this real quick. Let's see. I'm not. I just tonight update requires restart. No, I exited during the install the shaders. Why? What is going on? So this is how my Tuesday is, guys. I wonder how your days are going too. How you been? I just worked on homework. That was fun. Oh, I started my progress right back up. Let me turn off the sound. There you go. Music is much better. That's good. Thank you for letting me know, babe. Just having fun. Oh, where's my mouse? Losing stuff. I keep forgetting what I'm gonna do. I was gonna do mess with OBS some more. Let's see something. Anyways, let me know. Let me know how your day is going. Let's see, I gotta switch this. Alright, so oh, we're almost there. Whoa, what's this update? Should I play campaign mode? I've been just grinding a bunch of stuff. It's for multiplayer. You think they already had the? Let's do campaign. Like, those scenes issued. Okay. Intense graphic violence, guys. Listen up. Please close your eyes during all scenes that involve blood and gore, as I cannot turn this off. Probably could. See, make sure all my stuff is set. Like a constant battle. We can do this though. We can do this. I believe in you guys. Oh, does my mic need to be higher? You said it's fine, but now I'm playing music and stuff. And my brain's all but, you know. Actually, I'm gonna turn this down more. For everybody's experience, we will do this. Yeah, we're doing this. Okay, well, hold on. What should we do? Harden? I want to just do regular because I'm just doing it for fun. I just want to mess around. Just want to mess around. Just enjoy some campaign mode. It's the only way to live, guys. Do you believe me? Yeah, I'm having some issues going on with this campaign. I assume that the install the shaders is messing with things. I'm not sure. I want to say it's frame rate's dropping because of my computer, but I wouldn't even be sure. No clue why this is going so bad. Yeah, I gotta say it's frame rate's dropping from my computer. Why? Why is it dropping frame rates? What monstrosity is going on tonight? $24 earlier. Now it's doing fine. The heck are we playing with now, guys?
Echo 3-1 to Charlie 2 actual. Go for actual. LZ is in sight. Looks like our boys are running out of time, Colonel.
Roger 3-1. Hitman teams are locked and loaded for assault. You are green to go.
Green to go.
Colonel, we may have a problem.
Too late, Laswell. We're live.
Not until I say so. Watcher to 3-1, how copy?
Station Chief Laswell, send traffic.
General Barkov has sent a new shipment of chlorine gas to his depot. But his mercs are prepping to move the chems into Urzikstan via convoy tonight. You're still clear to engage, but live fire on Russian military is prohibited. We cannot have an international incident.
Oof.
Who guarantees Russian Army won't respond on this case?
Understood, Alex. Just locate the gas, comment to your Barkov truck, and get off the
Ah, gotta love it when they start you off with the best gun in the game.
We have to keep this on a tight loop. Barkov's men are moving the gas tonight.
Oof, man, the frame rates are just hitting hard tonight. You know what though? I was playing without streaming the other day and I was messing with my graphics. That might be a reason why though. I guess a perfect setup. 1080-ish. Let's see, apply settings. I was slowly turning it down just to see if I can get it. I mean, it's a little bit better. Not the greatest, let's be honest. I'm just gonna run straight and see if we make it where we need to be. This way, up, heads up. Oh, I ran into a tree. That's why we stopped. Okay, it's my fault. Oh, shoot him. Oh, oh. I was just fucked up. I just murdered some random innocents. Who knows what they were doing? Yeah, Forest NVG, right? Forest night spotter scope. Okay. I mean, there's definitely a Russian army somewhere. Come on, let's be honest. That's how the gas comes in. What gas are we talking about?
Target's in the loading depot.
But where's I looking just at now? Is it looking there? Alright, look, there's an open window. Let's go through the open window, guys. Oh.
Side high, not army.
Not army. What makes you not think he's not army, guys?
Call it insanity.
Oh, that's what I was looking. Okay. Just gonna call an airstrike. It's fine.
5, this is Echo 3-1. Troops in the open, south gate. You are cleared hot.
Oh yeah, they're just like we're going full out before anything even starts. They won't let me shoot him. Ooh, man, they just blew this whole place up. That's just messed up, man. Oh, look, I can see things now. Oh, look. Well, if you guys are talking, I can't turn off the light. I just give our position away. I mean, not that the bombs coming in and burning the place down wasn't a big enough sign as is. You think the Russians will not mind us coming in and just, blow up one of their factories? I don't really give a fuck. Ah! You can just... yeah, I smashed my finger the other day. Yes, I can crouch. Wow, why do you want me to crouch? Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw a grenade. I don't give a fuck. Oh. Just give his position away. Why would he turn his flashlight on? And I can't see in the dark. I can't either. It's fine. Do we even have a mask for this? Are we even safe to be around here? Oh man. Is it actually chemical shit we're playing against, or are we dealing with something else? Everything's on fire. It's fine. Oh, he's already burning, guys. Let's just put him out of his misery. Alright, he's dead. He's good. I never let a poor soul suffer on fire, right? That's just cruel, alright? Why are we walking? Maybe I want to run. No? Who's shooting at me? I don't know. Alright, hold on. Hold on, let's see if we can shoot him through the window. Bye, guys. They're all dead. It's fine. Yeah, I don't care. Why would it be on our side? We just literally came in and just killed a bunch of people. With some frags. What? Why is it? Oh, I was like, why is the door open? Let me open the door, dude. Dude, I said let me open the door. Come on, man. These guys are so rude. Jeez. Who do they think I am? Well, I shot the light out. Yeah, we need to secure the glass. Because it's your guys' fault. You guys just bombed this whole place. You didn't even try to... it should change back to... Oh! That was a... Well, that's what I get for running into there. First death, count it, guys. Death number 1. I don't even know if I have this set up as a command. Do we even have it set up? Yeah, I'll figure it out later. Yeah, you just... I'm sorry, dude. It was nice knowing you. I don't remember your name, man. Oh, there you go. Now it tells me I can change. I think it probably already did. I'm just gonna throw all the grenades, man. Who needs all these anyways? Come on, I'm a one-team army, man. You know? Oh, fudge! He got me. He got me. Why? Why would he do this to me? This is hurting. Somebody save me. Oh, it's all right. I just wanna grenade you, my own guys. It's fine. Hurt, get the cover. I don't want to get the cover. Who do you think I am? I thought I was Master Chief. Let's go. What is with these campaign games, man? They just let you die left and right, like, you know, you're just usable, you know? Why don't you guys just shoot the light out? I shot it earlier. Oh man, freaking done with you guys. Man, you guys don't know how to do crap. I'm out. I'm outie. Bye guys. Let's just get, you know, not in the middle of everywhere. Oh, who was shooting at me? Oh, never mind. That's my own teammate. Oh, I guess I should throw that grenade back, but oh, I'm hurt. I should get the cover. Oh, yeah, my bad. Oh, turn around. His gun was in my face. They're extremists in our ranks. Okay, I thought I said extremist in our ranks. I was like, what the frick is extremist? Apparently I should have waited a little bit. So, that's death number 3 or 4. I'll just let my guys take all of it. I don't have any grenades left, so I gotta... Alright, I'm gonna cook this. I'm just gonna... Oh. He was behind me hitting me? What the hell? Earlier it was fine, like I was in here, and I didn't have to kill anybody. Alright, well, I guess I should just, you know, cover back here. No, that's my own teammate. So who came and hit me earlier? There you go. I cooked that grenade. No, not long enough. Come on, get up on this table. I'm getting hit. I don't want to get hit. Alright, grab some more frag grenades. Oh, dude. Like, seriously? Where are these guys coming from? Alright. Let's shoot this light. No, I can't shoot the light. I can shoot this light, though. Highlights off, like up on it. I don't want to flank on anything, man. Come on. I can't even hop this ladder, apparently. Oh! Alright. Well, I was just gonna hit you. That just sounds... That's just violent, guys. This game is so violent. Why am I even playing? Where's the good content games anymore, you know? Just... I didn't need to hear body thumping against my freaking, weapon, you know? Like, that's not acceptable, guys. Can I just shoot these guys? These guys, I thought these guys were part of my team. Okay, let me swap weapons. Why do I want to swap weapons? Maybe I want to stay with this. Maybe I hate the pistols. Why do you guys have to judge me so much, man? Why can't I blow those lights out? But this is supposed to be covert, you know? Not show me your money. Oh yeah, this is definitely safe, guys. Let's stay out in the open. Let's take our sweet time. Yeah. Just, you know, scan your areas. We're too late? Oh, I recognize this from the multiplayer laps. Oh, what's this? Can I open this? Looks like it opens. Oh, mask up. Oh, guys. Now we bring out the mask. After we bombed the place, it may have, you know, spilled things open. It's fine. Kill the power. Oh, I have to use a flashlight? Yeah, let's give our position away, guys. Alright, we're gonna slide in this place, guys. Oh crap! I see some targets. Oh, I'm just gonna throw this. Oh, I'm just gonna kill whoever is in here. Oh, yes, yes. Look at me, the one-man soldier. Just throwing grenades in here. Oh, who's shooting me from behind? Where am I getting shot at? If I can't see him, I can't shoot him. Oh, I'm hurt. Get the cover. Oh, there he is. Oh. Ah, man. All the bullcrap. All the bullcrap. Oh, here. They spawned me right in front of this guy. Oh, maybe they respawn. Oh, they spawned me back. Okay, I see where they spawned me back. Good thing I have like multiple lives. Who needs a die? I'm telling you right now, this mode of this game is killing me right now. I don't have any flash grenades. I mean, no grenades left. Dude, what do they think I am? A poser? I need grenades, man. Oh, he's shooting at me. I'm pinned down, guys. I'm pinned down. I need your help. Oh. Why am I taking care of all these guys myself? Oh, there it is. There's the power. Oof. Eyes are starting to hurt. Staring at the damn darkness. I hope you guys know this is similar to having a mask on and having to shoot.
Negative. Command wants mission accomplished on this. Not our choice.
Never is. 3-1 out.
Verify this is what we came for. We'll set the trucks for egress.
Raj.
I want this door open. Hit F. Do I have to do the truck? Swab? Why is swabbing gonna do anything about it? You know?
Jackpot. PID in the gas.
Solid copy, 3-1. Load up and get back.
PID on the gas, really?
Roger that. Let's move out.
I want to hear people talk like that in real life. PID on the gas? Isn't it like a primary identifier? Primary identifier determined or something? So do I just mount on the side? No, I gotta ride in the convoy, okay. Oh, my. This is a bad idea, guys.
Watch your sectors.
Watch your sectors? I can't watch anything. I can't even turn around. Out of this mirror. This mirror isn't even that great. Oh, great. Oh, yeah. We got far, dude. We got far. Oh, yeah. Back it up. Just back it up. Oh. Oh. I'm sorry, guys. That was the worst decision ever made. We're probably just handing this gas off to our enemies. Dude, don't die on me. Come on, man. Stay alive. Why would you? Oh. Man, these guys are pros. They were waiting for us. Not Russian. Oh no. Yep, told you guys we just handed off all this gas and everything to this damn insurgents. Now you're trying to get up? Now you're gonna try to get up?
Echo 3-1 to Watcher.
Alex, what happened?
Terrorist attack. Multiple Marines KIA. Gas stolen. We need evac now.
So how did he survive?
Tracking multiple Russian forces headed your way. Sit tight.
Like, you were staring at him the whole entire time, right?
Watch her out. This operation is now compartmentalized.
What the hell does that mean?
Means you no longer have clearance, Colonel.
Those are my Marines. We need a QRF in there right now.
That's not advisable.
And that is not your call.
Colonel, Laswell,
General, my men.
Norris, give us a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
The 3-star general's like,
The Kremlin has suspended all decompression channels. The Sixth Fleet is pushing into the Black Sea, and chemical weapons are now in the wild. Your fingerprints are all over this, Laswell. Fix it.
General, right now intelligence is our best weapon.
We've tried intelligence. Get me a better weapon.
ooh, calling her out.
John,
Laswell,
where are you?
occupied.
I've got a problem.
Russians?
What travels fast? Chemical weapons have fallen into terrorist hands. They could be
Uh-oh.
anywhere. Paris, New York.
London.
When can you breathe?
We just did.
Mm-mm. I hope the music in the background isn't putting you guys off while I watch this. Just realized. Don't worry about me. I'm still alive. Oh. Sorry, check all. My phone's like sitting here flashing at me this whole entire time.
Is not your call.
Laswell,
General, my men.
Norris, give us a minute.
Terrorists know that too, sir.
Some long cutscenes.
The Kremlin has suspended all decompression channels.
Crystal.
The Sixth Fleet is
Wait, why is it replaying this?
weapons are now in the wild.
Looks like we're on our own, lads.
Your fingerprints
Wheel
are
out.
all over this.
Let's get this done, yeah? Ready
Fix
for
it.
General,
Sergeant?
right now intelligence is our best weapon.
I'm so confused. I don't know why it's playing this cutscene.
That's them.
John,
Saber to Raven. Multiple military age males. Weapons visible. Moving to its side.
I've got a problem.
What's going on?
Travels fast.
Why does my computer have to be broken today? Yeah, we know that's not Price, so if you guys ever watched watching the other games.
Just did.
Okay, now get a play. That was so weird. What in the actual F? CST Brooks. Why is he pulling them down? Who's that? ST Flower? Crowley? Oh! Oh, that's fucked up, dude. That's just fucked up.
There's been a detonation at Piccadilly Circus. Shots fired. Officers
Oh crap.
medical down here now.
Hey, someone's shooting?
Not done yet. Let's move.
Oh, there you go. This is a hell of a crime scene here. Oh, dude, there's just innocents everywhere, man. Just innocents everywhere. Alright. Oh, that's a police officer. Pull him out. Yes, grab your dead police officer. They are just running wild. They're just shooting everybody they can get. Huh. Ah, come on. Come on, guys, stop moving. Stop moving. I told you to hold still, alright? Oh, crap. Yes, I'm the cover. I'm covering right now. What am I covering from? I don't know. Police officers are helping out. All right, we can do this. We got it, guys. Come on, come on. Slide here. Double time, double time. Come on, let's go. Where's? Oh, fudge. I am dodging things left and right. Oh, there we go. There's another guy. Oh. Forget. Oh. All right, we gotta tap. We're checking objectives. Okay, we're. Oh. Move debris. Yo, you don't do this in multiplayer. If you move debris in multiplayer, that'd be pretty cool. Oh, this guy's trying to stab me. What the heck? Alright. Blue. Kyle. We're Kyle. I thought we were Price, but apparently
Captain Price. Sergeant Garrick. You with me?
Alright, well, okay. I didn't see that coming. I really thought we were someone else. I actually thought we were gonna play Price, but they messed with us. So how did this place turn into a? Those are hostages? I don't believe them. I don't believe that they're hostages at all. They're liars. It's not mine. I'm gonna shoot you guys straight in the face. I guess we gotta freaking de-arm this. Why would you try to yank on it? Yeah, because all that C4 on him wouldn't,
All stations. Room is clear. Brett Medical are coming out.
I feel like the amount of C4 on his chest would have just blown up at least half the building. If not, like, a good portion of it.
I'm good.
But I guess maybe they only put enough just to kill everybody in the area. Which still doesn't make any sense. They took a bunch of hostages. What were they trying to survive? Because they obviously weren't. They were running out the street shooting people, trying to cause as much chaos as possible. I'm lost. Hey, King Fergie, what's up, yo?
You saved lives today, Sergeant.
I'm over here talking mad shit about these terrorists. Or not the brightest so much.
In hard fast. So everyone can just
But
pretend they're in a war.
dropping frames, yeah. Freaking driving me nuts right now. It was doing fine. My game is playing fine. I might have to restart my stream. I've just been having issues all night, dude.
We don't stand a chance in hell with these rules of engagement, Captain.
Yeah. Woo.
They can tell us where.
Got some serious frames right now.
Don't tell us how.
Oh, why is that?
So for weeks.
You had actual intel on this.
Yo, it's not even telling me that I'm dropping frames right now.
Okay.
Frame per second is 33. Well, I guess maybe. Oh, no, it says encoding overloaded. Consider turning down your video settings or using a faster encoding preset. So what happened? I was doing fine.
Only made the Liberation Force on his side.
See settings.
You know,
I
Commander.
might have to start over. Might have to.
Use my name. Or don't
Gee.
kill it.
I'll put.
What is your message from Captain Price?
I already have a pretty fast one as is.
I'm listening, Alex.
This is classified.
Hello, Radan. Jazuli Halkom.
I wonder if this will help out. Just gonna overload my CP.
Shipment of Russian gas.
Only Al-Qatala would do this.
The Russians make no distinction between Al-Qatala and your people.
And I make no distinction between Al-Qatala and the Russian army. They're both terrorists.
My game is running fine,
They'd never use this poison.
but my OBS is suffering.
Distracted. Before they
Before they what? Take it to Europe? Or America? We live like this every day.
Commander, it's time to go. Who is this?
Alex, this is my brother and lieutenant, Adir.
Hold on, I'll be back.
CIA?
He works with Captain Price.